Hi and welcome to Bending Emacs, episode 2. This is the From Vanilla to Your Flavor episode, or in other words, I'll show you how to customize Emacs UI and maybe some tips and tricks along the way. Now, this is still very much a new channel. It's only my second episode. My goal here is to create short and focused videos. So as I mentioned previously, if you like the videos and let me know about it, I'll continue making more of them. So what are we doing here? We're going to be tweaking Emacs UI to our own taste. Emacs itself caters pretty much for everyone. You can run it in the terminal as a graphical user interface or macOS app. You can be as Spartan as you like and run vanilla Emacs, or rather out of the box. You can customize it like I do. Now, I run Emacs Plus, which is a macOS build available via Homebrew. So the goal of this video is to take a vanilla Emacs, apply some customizations, and get our own flavor out of it. How are we going to do that? We are going to be applying some elisp. Now we can effectively add some elisp or Emacs Lisp to a file called init.el, which gets loaded at launch time. By the time that your Emacs launches, then all your customizations take place. But Emacs itself is a live system, and as such, we can basically modify it at any given time. Emacs itself offers a whole bunch of different commands and ways to evaluate elisp, and so I'm just going to go ahead and showcase a handful of them. To do that, we got these two snippets here that effectively change the background, the default background color. So if I were to showcase eval last s expression, we will be placing the point or cursor at the end of the expression and invoking eval last s expression. Press enter, and you can see that it changes the background color immediately. Similarly, we can go to the second snippet and copy that snippet and invoke eval expression and paste the snippet into the mini buffer. Press enter, similar result, but now we get back the original color. Moving on, if we have a buffer with some elisp, we can go ahead and invoke eval buffer, and we get a similar result. Now, another one that's quite interesting is IELM. So if we were to pull up IELM, this is effectively an elisp REPL. So if we were to just paste the snippet that we would like to evaluate and press enter, we also get a similar result. Org-babel, this is also an interesting one. Now, this entire presentation is an org mode buffer, and as such, we got both of these snippets are regular org source blocks. Now, as org source blocks, these can be evaluated by org-babel. So if I were to press Control-C, it asks at the bottom of the screen, hey, would you like to evaluate this elisp snippet? I'm going to go ahead and say yes, and we get the result that we expected. Similarly, if we place the point on the second snippet and evaluate it as well, we get back to where we were. So what we're going to do in the remaining of this presentation is bring up a vanilla Emacs instance and apply some customizations to get the desired UI tweaks that we want. To do that, let me go ahead and pull that up. So on the right-hand side, you see a separate Emacs instance independent from the one that we're currently presenting from. Now, we could go ahead and copy some snippets over to that other instance and evaluate them there to make the customizations that we want, but I want to do it a little bit differently. I would like to drive everything from this presentation instance, or the Emacs instance that I'm currently presenting from. So to do that, or ideally what I would like out of that is to just place the pointer cursor in one of these snippets, press Control-C, and have that apply to the other instance. Now, if I were to do that as it is now, it obviously doesn't work out of the box because that's just not how it behaves out of the box. So we're gonna have to get a little bit creative and see how we can change that. To do that, we're going to create an elisp macro, and all that macro is really going to do is take an expression or a body and wrap it around by us using Emacs client to take that body and kind of send it over to the other instance so it can be evaluated there. Now, there's a couple of additional things I do here to force a redraw or update the other window and flush the message buffer, but technically that's not really needed and it's only there for the sake of this presentation. So we'll go ahead and evaluate that. So we now have the macro available to us. And if we want to put it into action, we can just go into the next snippet, and you can see that we have a similar snippet now wrapped with other Emacs macro. And if we go ahead and evaluate that, you can see now that we are affecting the other instance, or the vanilla instance itself. Having said that, I'm still not quite happy with that behavior. What I really want is to be able to evaluate snippets as you can see them at the bottom, and be able to control whether they get executed in the current instance or the other instance by merely using a header argument. In this case, we're just going to call it other Emacs header argument, set it to T or true. And if I were to go ahead and press Control-C, have it apply to the other one. Obviously, this didn't work because that's not how these blocks work out of the box. So again, we're going to have to get a little bit creative. Now, we know that these blocks get evaluated by org-babel. So we're going to have to go and see how we can modify org-babel itself. Emacs offers a mechanism to do that sort of thing. You can apply advices to existing functions to modify their behavior. Advices are effectively a bit of code that you can execute before, after, maybe around another function. But to be able to do that, we're going to have to figure out which function we want to apply our advice to. So to do that, we can use describe function command, which comes shipped out of the box. I myself like to use one that comes out of helpful, or a third-party package called helpful, which is really handy. So I'll go ahead and do that, and just start typing org-babel, and just maybe type Emacs Lisp. As you can see, this narrows things down quite a bit for us, so that's good, because then we can maybe quickly find which is the function that we want to patch. Out of these, there's a couple that stand out. One is called execute Emacs Lisp, and the other one says expand body Emacs Lisp. I'm going to go ahead. I've kind of already done the homework, and I know that expand body is the one that we're after. So I'll go ahead and open that. So here we have the helpful buffer for this particular function. If we read through the documentation, it says, hey, expand the body according to the parameters, and return the expanded body. In other words, here's a string, modify it, expand it, and return another string in and string out. That's very helpful because that will fit very well with the existing macro that we just created. So now that we know which function we are going to be advising, then we can go ahead and create a function that we're going to be adding as an advice. So our function here, I've already gone and created it, is actually fairly straightforward. All it's really doing is checking to see if the other Emacs header parameter or argument is being passed to this source block. And if so, we're just going to go ahead and wrap it with other Emacs macro that we just created. Otherwise, just carry on as usual. So now that we have our new function here, we are going to use it and apply it to the existing org-babel expand body Emacs Lisp function via advice add mechanism. So I'm going to go ahead and evaluate that. And with that in mind, now things should start behaving differently. So if I were to go and evaluate this block here again, using our new header argument, hopefully things behave differently. And you can see that now the text is being applied to the other instance. Now, if we want to check that this is indeed working as we expected, we can go ahead and remove that and execute it again, or evaluate it again. And you can see that it now applies to the current one. So we can try one more time. Evaluate that, and you can see that it now applies to the other instance. So this video is now getting a little bit long, so we're going to have to move through all the customizations quickly. But thankfully, we now have this snippet evaluation, new evaluation way, and so we can get through them fairly quickly. So first things first, I like to change the font. My favorite, and has been for quite some time, is the JetBrains Mono. I'll go ahead and evaluate this snippet. You can see that it already changed the font in the other in the other instance. I'm going to go ahead and load the theme as well. Now, I've been using the material theme for quite some time with a whole bunch of overrides in my init. Recently, I just decided, well, I'm going to take those overrides and create another theme out of it. So I've created materialized. So I'm going to go ahead and load that, and you can start seeing that things starting to become a little bit more similar to the instance that I currently have. Now, let's talk about toolbar. Now, I myself, I don't use the toolbar, but if I were to use the toolbar, there is this very nice project called Calle 24. And what it does is let me just go ahead and install it. So if you look at the right-hand side in the top right where the toolbar is, you can see some the default icons. Now, if I go and enable this third-party package, it will go and use SF symbols. Now, this is a macOS only thing, but you can see that you get some very nice icons for the toolbar. So as I mentioned, I don't typically use the toolbar, so I'm going to go ahead and hide it. Title bar. I don't typically like to have much text in the title bar, so I'm going to go ahead and clear that too. Transparent title bar. This is a macOS only thing. So if I focus the other buffer, you can see at the top right that the title bar has a slightly different color than the buffer itself. If I go and make it transparent by evaluating that little bit of elisp, you can now see that the title bar is the same color as the rest of the buffer. Okay, scroll bars. I don't really use them, so I'm going to go ahead and hide them. Mode line. There's a couple of packages I use for mode line. They're third-party packages. One is Minions. I'll go ahead and install that. And what it does is it puts all of the different minor modes that are typically displayed in the mode line under a nice little menu that you can pop. Next one down is Moody. Moody effectively just adds like little tabs or ribbons to kind of prettify your mode line. I'll go ahead and evaluate that and get that installed, and you can see that the mode line is starting to look like mine. When I say mine, well, I have been actually hiding my mode line all along, so I'm going to go ahead and unhide it. So hide mode line mode. I'm going to turn that off, and now you can see that the mode line looks very similar to what I typically use. Neon cat, well, yeah, I know this sounds like we are back in 2011, but I do like this little cat hanging out in my mode line, and I have been carrying him for quite some time. So my new Emacs instance is feeling a little lonely with that neon cat, so I'm going to go ahead and install that too. And so you can now see that my right-hand Emacs instance now has our beloved cat. Lastly, I experimented some time with writing a minimalistic welcome screen with maybe a little bit with a little graphic. So recently I just tweaked it again. So I'm going to go ahead and run that or evaluate that just to show you what it looks like. And so that's the welcome screen that I now see when I launch my Emacs instance. So that's it for today. We looked at evaluating some elisp, looking up some functions, advising functions, and of course tweaking our Emacs UI. I hope you found this useful. Please look through my my blog if you want to look up some other Emacs topics that you might want me to talk about. And of course, please leave me some comments. I really love reading through those. One last time, please do like the video, subscribe to my channel, and of course, leave me some comments. Thank you.